think that the Rio Ferdinand program showed that recently, that he particularly wasn't coping with his grief even after about 2 years, and then he met with Benjamin Brooke Duttons, who, funny enough, actually worked with my wife many years ago, and he actually came to Gendre's funeral. And he's been very good about talking about grief from a kind of male perspective, and as a young father as well, and getting groups of men together. And interestingly, there's a dad at the school who recently lost his wife. He's got 4 children, including one, I think he's literally about 18 months old or something. And I've got in contact with him, and through mutual friends or whatever. But he kind of acknowledged that and said, yes, let's get together, but has never actually committed to a particular time or a date. And I'm not there to, he'll come to me in his own time and in his own way. But yeah, I think men to a degree will be less open about their emotions. I mean, I've always been pretty much in touch with my feminine side, if I'm really honest. But a lot of men aren't. I mean, it was different. I had stopped working for the 2 years that Gendre was ill, so I'd been at home. I got into the family routine. I was the primary carer. I was the primary parent. But I suspect that for some men, they will probably have carried on working, and then suddenly they will be faced with a situation where that's it. Their wife is gone, and now they've got their children, and they're going to have to think: can I continue to work, or how do I juggle that? And men will be very much about the provision. Men are like that. We provide for our families. We put food on the table. We pay for the holidays. We buy the new sofa, or all those kind of things. And sometimes they can lose touch with the fact that actually you don't need to worry about the new sofa, because if you sit with your kids on the old sofa watching a film, that means as much to them as sitting on a new sofa not watching the film. And so I think that men, I certainly gone through that journey of moving from the provider to being the emotional support, which is what my wife was to the children. I don't think I was a bad father when she was alive, but it's a very different kettle of fish. So I think that men, it's probably not fair to generalise, but in my experiences of being a widower for the last 3.5 years, I would say that the people I've met, it's 80-90% almost women versus men. Not in every situation, but a lot. And I think that must say something about the way that men deal with grief, apart from the statistics that perhaps more men die than women. But I mean, I think that aside, I think that men are very social creatures. They'll get together in the pub, they'll go and play golf, they'll go and watch football matches, they do all that kind of thing. But actually, perhaps sitting down and talking about their emotions still, for men, is something that comes less easily than it does to women. Yeah, I think men, as I said, men will come together, right, in very male situations. I mean, I've been going to football for 40 years, or I said, men will engage in plenty of activities. But equally, men can go and spend a lot of time with their male friends and not actually really scratch beneath the surface of anything. So very often my wife would say, when I got out and met sort of my closest friends, for an entire weekend of golf, they would say, so how is Steve's wife and the children? I go, I don't know, actually, we didn't talk about that. And she'd go, well, what did you talk about for 48 hours? I go, I don't really remember, actually. Yeah, just had a good time. And so that's, men can be more just, at the surface. It depends, of course, on the friendship groups and the bonds and the trust and whatever. And I'm lucky I've got 3 or 4 friends who I can be, very, very open and honest with. But, I wouldn't necessarily see them all the time. But I think that, to some degree, I don't know if men sitting in kind of cold, sterile meeting rooms is going to necessarily bring out the best of them, per se. I think if you go back to the Rio Ferdinand programme, he sat in, somebody's kitchen and they're having a coffee and they're, having a natter. You know what I mean? I think for men, there's going to be something about the environment. But actually, what would be good is if there is a kind of mediator. I think that men, 2 things could happen. All the men could go out together and have a really nice time, and that's just a distraction. And for an hour or 2, do you know what? Sometimes that's what you need. You don't actually want to go out and talk about the pain that you're going through. You want to go out, go to the pub, watch the football, talk football, and talk drivel, and then go home, because it's just been 2 hours of being distracted. But then there's that balance between, well, if you keep doing that and you're actually talking about anything, then you're not really dealing with it. You're just putting it to one side. So what I could see, I mean, whether it's practical or not, is this kind of like an army of kind of sort of mediators who can get these groups of men who are going to have a good time, they're going to the pub, but can then just bring into the conversation, you know, so how are you doing, guys? You know, what are you going through? You know, how are you feeling? You know, it needs a bit more organisation, a bit more structure. Yeah, I think to get men's creative juices going. I think once they do, then I think they will talk. But if you leave them to their own devices, it will just be a diversionary evening, which, as I said, is fine up to a point. But it's no different from if you're kind of in a million and one off-site meetings at work. You know, if there isn't somebody bringing it all together, driving it, steering it, and then people could be amazed. And then something comes out of it really powerful and really strong, and everybody leaves, you know, having got an amazing amount out of that experience. As I said, you don't want to be doing that all the time, and I think that they'll, you know, you've got to let men come and go into that as they so choose.